Are very excited to be here. My name is Mike Brickner. I am the Senior Policy Director with the ACLU of Ohio. And this morning we are talking about criminal justice here in the state of Ohio. As many of you have know, and if you've been paying attention, you've been hearing, many people in our legislature right now are talking about the opportunity for reform in our criminal justice system, that many people recognize that our mass incarceration system is not working for our communities anymore, that we have far too many people in prisons and jails, and that the effect on them once they come back out in the community prevents them from getting jobs, employment, and housing. We have an opportunity for reform right now. There are things going on in the Criminal Recodification Committee. There are bills moving in the legislature that would reform things like civil asset forfeiture. But at the same time that we have these reforms and our legislators talking about the need to make our criminal justice system less punitive and more rehabilitative, we also have legislators who continue to introduce laws that expand our criminal justice system. We have a flurry of bills that would add new enhancements, that would create new crimes, and that would undermine the good work that people want to do to make our criminal justice system more just. Today, the ACLU is releasing this analysis on Ohio's State House to Prison pipeline. As legislators have a role in making our criminal justice system more just, they also have a role in growing and expanding the criminal justice system. In this analysis, we looked at all legislation that was introduced starting in January of this year through July of this year. We found some, I think, fairly startling things in terms of sentencing enhancements and creating new crimes. We found that out of all of the bills, 54 total in both the House and the Senate were introduced that would have grown the criminal justice system. That's 11% of all bills. So over 1 in 10 that were introduced in our legislature in the first 7 months had some sort of sentencing enhancement. We have to stop growing our mass incarceration system. As we are looking towards reform, legislators should pledge not to introduce new sentencing enhancements and not to introduce bills that would create new crimes. Additionally, we are urging the leadership in both the House and the Senate to commit to not moving already existing sentencing enhancements in the House and the Senate. As we are looking towards the Recodification Committee and looking towards making our justice system more just, more fair, continuing to introduce and move these types of laws will move Ohio in the wrong direction. Now, I'm very excited to have such an esteemed panel of folks here today who are also going to be talking about this issue. First, we're going to start with Kari Underwood, who is the legislative liaison of the Office of the Ohio Public Defender, and then Robert Alt, the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Buckeye Institute for Public Policy Solutions, will get up. Then we have Barry Wilford, who is on the Board of Directors with the Ohio Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, and then Gary Daniels, Chief Lobbyist with the ACLU of Ohio. So without any further ado, I will turn it over to Kari. Thank you.
Good morning. I would like to thank the ACLU for all of their hard work in organizing this day and this campaign. It's certainly a very, very worthy cause that we all need to pay a lot of attention to. As we know, Ohio's prisons have been overcrowded for decades. As public defenders, our caseloads have grown, decreased, and grown again. Yet even in decline, the prison population has not reduced, because of the tough-on-crime nature of our felony criminal code. I ask lawmakers here today, and your colleagues, to consider the world in which they introduce their bills, and consider the possibility that incarceration is not the answer for most of the problems we seek to address. Incarceration is destructive. Once someone is in jail or prison, their livelihood immediately begins to crumble. Their families are jailed too by the emotional and physical withdrawal, the stripping of jobs, houses, cars, and even custody rights. All of these factors are disastrous for individuals and for their families, and are never completely restored when a person is released back into the community. When we lock up the wrong people, lives are ruined and our communities suffer. This is why the public defender is urging lawmakers to consider the felony classification and sentencing scheme they write into new criminal justice, civil justice, and other miscellaneous bills. Incarceration is rarely a productive way to address behavior some see as deviant or undesirable. While we all serve different roles, all of us here today work toward common goals of public safety and working towards safer communities. Locking up people does not represent the achievement of those goals. When the criminal code expands, our caseloads rise. Courts, police officers, prosecutors, and public defenders alike have to do more with the same or sometimes less resources. Cases get less time and attention than they require. Inappropriate plea deals are struck, and cases are resolved in the interest of time rather than in the interest of justice. The idea that Ohio's laws have gone too far in the way of complexity, confusion, and control is not novel. We, as professionals in the legislative community, have verbally acknowledged this problem, yet little reform has occurred. And that's where we are now, but progress is on the horizon. You heard that this year, the Ohio Criminal Justice Recodification Committee has started reviewing the criminal code with the goal of streamlining language, charges, and even prison sentences. The committee is a bipartisan, multi-professional group whose membership is comprised of the best legal experts in our state. They are combing the code, making revisions, suggestions, and even edits in the name of efficient and effective justice. Today I ask lawmakers and policy advocates to recognize the position our state faces. With an enormous prison population, overcrowded court dockets, and fatigued attorneys. Please allow the Recodification Committee to complete its review of the criminal code prior to introducing any new criminal justice bills. Their work is set to conclude in less than 10 months, at which point we will have a cleaner code to consider your ideas.